Okay, welcome back everybody. And now we're going to get started with our second presentation, and it's titled Employer Withholding and Modernized Ohio Business Gateway.
Good morning, I'm Monica Kendricks, a tax examiner in the Employment Tax Division, and this is my partner, Allison Weller. Allison and I plan to introduce you to the system used to electronically file the majority of the business taxes administered by the Department of Taxation. It has been mandatory since 2013 that you electronically file employer withholding tax. As a result of this mandate, it's important that you, as a business owner or service provider, familiarize yourself with the Ohio Business Gateway. This portion of the webinar is designed to inform users of how to convert existing Ohio Business Gateway accounts to the new modernized gateway, how to register for a new OHID, how to maintain service provider and client relationships, and also how to gain transaction type authorizations or TTAs. If you currently use the Ohio Business Gateway, the red screen at the top looks familiar to you. The username and password that was used to log in on this screen will now be used to log in for the first time on the modernized gateway. The blue screen below is what you will see from now on. Once you log in the first time, you will be prompted to create an OHID. This OHID is what you will use from now on to access the modernized gateway. The modernized gateway will transform the current gateway into a more secure, user-friendly, and reliable portal. All users must create a new OHID business account to access the modernized gateway. This screen will appear once you have entered the username and password that was familiar to you from the red screen into the blue screen. This is the system notifying you that it has now linked your old profile with the new profile. This linking will automatically convert the history of all of your filings from the red system over to the blue system. After you've registered, you will receive the option to select 3 password reset security options. You can either opt to receive a text message, a personal email, or answer security questions to recover your username or password should you forget it. You're only required to opt into one of the security options, but we strongly encourage you to select all 3 if possible to increase the chances of you accessing the system without manual intervention. The modernized gateway is more user-driven than its predecessor. Companies are no longer required to set up and register as a company itself. Instead, users are registered for their individual accounts and then linked to the company that they plan to access on the Ohio Business Gateway. If you had administrative rights in the existing gateway, chances are those administrative rights will follow you to the modernized gateway. Instead of an administrator, you will be referred to as a filing administrator in the modernized gateway. Filing administrators are required to approve all subsequent users' access to the modernized gateway. The primary filing administrator can approve and/or deny access to an account. This individual will receive email notifications when any business user requests access to either the company itself or to various service types and transactions. Business users can include employees, CPAs, attorneys, payroll providers, or any other affiliated parties. Let's test your knowledge.
So, Monica, do people who file their taxes on Ohio Business Gateway currently need to register for OHID?
Yes, all business users must register for an OHID in the modernized gateway. Regardless of whether or not you are familiar with the red screen or if you've accessed the Ohio Business Gateway in the current environment, you are required to set up an OHID in the modernized gateway. Service providers who linked their clients' accounts using the 13-digit IDs in the existing gateway will no longer have to utilize those in the modernized gateway. Because this is a more secure environment, all of those relationships will be maintained or already established in the modernized gateway. If your email address was associated with multiple clients' accounts, chances are you received an email from the department asking that you verify those relationships were necessary to be maintained. This allowed us to convert those for you without the 13-digit IDs. If you are a service provider who has no Ohio tax filings for your own business, we ask that you take a moment prior to go live and register for the existing Ohio Business Gateway. This will ease your transition to the new system. You must request business access to all companies that you file tax returns for. The filing administrator that I mentioned earlier will have to approve that access for each entity that you do not already have an established relationship with. So if you were not already linked to the account in the existing gateway, it requires additional maintenance to establish that relationship for the first time in the modernized gateway. This is a new two-step permission process that's brand new to the modernized gateway. If you advise your clients or your superiors in advance that there's going to be a two-step permission process necessary, it will most likely ease the transition for all parties involved and simplify that granting access for you. Let's take a brief look at the security access pages. This is the account access management page where the transaction type authorizations or TTAs and permissions that I mentioned earlier are housed. Once you're logged in for the first time as a filing administrator, you'll see these three icons over on the right-hand side that we've blown up for you here. In order to grant access to a new user, you would click on the lockbox on the right-hand side. This will default to the service areas page that you see here. All of the services on the left-hand column are available. Once you click on the plus sign, those same services will be moved over to the authorized service areas on the right-hand side. This allows you to access them on your home page or your dashboard. So again, the first step is to click on the plus sign on the left-hand side to move the service area over to the authorized service area column on the right-hand side. In this example, I'm authorized to file employer withholding and sales and use tax, but not commercial activity tax. After that selection has been made, you will move to the transaction types. So you will get more specific about the transactions for each service area that you've authorized that you're able to grant additional access to. In this screen, we have the Maintain Ohio School District list that has been moved over to the authorized transaction types. We have the Ohio IT 501, the Ohio 941, and the Ohio SD 101, Ohio SD 141. In this example, we would not have authorized ourselves to make a payment only. It's still on the available transaction type, but not on the authorized transaction type. So again, we want to go down and get very specific about the type of transactions access that we're granting to either service providers or employees for the company. The next step is the user authorization page. Here on the left side, we see the options that are available for us to refine by. We can either refine by the filer account, the filer, the service area, or the transaction type. We can get specific and grant read-only access, edit access, create, delete, or submit access. Once you toggle either of those options over to the right, there's a copy permissions button there with the little wand that allows you to click on it and quickly grant access to all of the options below. Let's test your knowledge.
Monica, can preparers or service providers continue to use their 13-digit service provider ID to link their client accounts in the modernized gateway?
No, the 13-digit IDs will not be utilized in the modernized gateway. Instead, you'll need to click the Request Business Access to link a provider's profile to a client. Each profile can be linked to up to 2,000 business profiles.
So for the second portion, my portion, we're going to be looking at the specific forms that are filed for employer withholding tax. First, we'll take a look at registration. We'll look at the IT 501 and SD 101 payments of income tax withheld. We'll look at the new comprehensive school district list that's available on Modernized Gateway. We'll also look at the updated form, the fourth quarter / annual IT 942. And we'll take a look at how to make a payment only for a billing or assessment notice. The most popular forms are the IT 501 and the SD 101. These are the payments of income tax withheld, either employer income tax on the IT 501 or school district income tax on the SD 101. The form itself doesn't have any line item changes in the Modernized Gateway. It's going to be very familiar to what you're used to filing on the existing gateway. One of the biggest differences, your account number will be preloaded into your gateway and it will be matched up with your company account. So you no longer have to manually enter your employer withholding account number. It will be preloaded into the system. You do still have the option to upload a .txt or a .csv file for school district data if you choose to do that. It's not required, but it is still an available option. And we still allow you to pay using ACH debit from your checking or savings account, or you can pay with a credit card. All payments can be deferred. You can pay them immediately, or you can defer them up to the due date of the return that you're filing. So we'll take a look at the IT 501. This is our most popular form, probably the easiest form to fill out. The first thing you would enter is the withholding account number. So like I said before, it'll be preloaded into the system. You would simply select the account number from the drop-down menu next to the title there. Your filing frequency will be automatically populated based on the account you're filing for. Next, you'll select the filing year and the filing period that you'd like to submit your payment. If for some reason your filing period is not showing in the list, you can simply check the box to show all periods and then make your selection in the previous field. The last thing you do is enter your total Ohio tax withheld for that reporting period, and then you would click Next to continue filing the return. This is really similar to what you do in the existing gateway. There's no changes to this form. Next, we'll look at the Ohio SD 101. Once again, there's not any major changes to this form. The top section where it says Choose File, that's where you would upload your school district data if you choose to file that way. It's not required, but it is still an option. If you need to add additional school districts that aren't displayed, you can click the button to add school district below the school district information title. Otherwise, simply fill in the tax withheld for each school district in the schedule below. The bottom row for totals, for total tax withheld, is going to be pre-filled based on your entries above. Once you are satisfied with your changes, you can click Next to continue filing the form and make your payment. Another thing that's slightly changed from the existing gateway is the Maintain Ohio School District list. Currently, in the existing gateway, the only available school districts, the only school districts available are the school districts that have an income tax withholding. In our Modernized Gateway, it'll be a more comprehensive list of school districts available. So every single school district in Ohio will be on this list, even if they don't have an income tax requirement. So in this example, we selected in the right-hand column, we selected Columbus City School District number 2503 as a selected district. However, when I file my school district form SD 101, Columbus will not be displayed because there is no income tax withholding. Also, if legislation were to change in the future and Columbus did enact a school district tax, it would be displayed on a future period if that were to ever happen. Next, we'll do a test your knowledge question.
Allison, I reported withholdings for Amanda Clear Creek the last time I filed a return. I'm sure of it. Why isn't that school district listed on my form?
So Monica, like I said, Only Ohio school districts with an active tax will be displayed on the Form SD 101. So legislation may have changed since you previously filed. They may have had an income tax in the past, but currently for the period you're filing, they no longer have a tax withholding requirement.
Uh-huh. Ready?
Next, we'll take a look at the annual reconciliation forms for income tax withheld. This form, Ohio IT 941, is our most popular form. It's used by quarterly filers and monthly filers. So if you're making payments on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis, at the end of each year, you would have to file an IT 941 annual reconciliation of income tax withheld. On the first screen, you would enter your monthly withholding information. So you would break out your Ohio gross payroll and your Ohio tax withheld for each month or each period that you paid. And the bottom row, the total is automatically calculated by the gateway. Once you push next and move on to the next screen, which you see in the little window on the right-hand side, the smaller pane, the annual tax or annual reconciliation tax calculation, your Ohio tax withheld, the first line item, is automatically filled in. This is based off your previous entries. The only other thing you enter here is your previous payments made for the filing period, which is your total annual tax withheld or total annual payments that you've made. And then the Modernized Gateway will calculate if you have any tax due, additional tax due, or if you are requesting a refund from the Department of Taxation if you have overpaid. Once again, there's no changes to the way that this form is currently filed. Next, we'll take a look at Ohio IT 942, the fourth quarter / annual reconciliation form. This is only filed by part weekly filers or those larger companies that have bigger payrolls and they're making payments on a more frequent, with more frequency. They're required to reconcile their tax withholding, income tax withheld every quarter instead of only once a year. So on the fourth quarter of every year, they're also filing an annual reconciliation. This is a dual purpose form, and the form is intended to reconcile both the fourth quarter information as well as the entire year, the annual reconciliation. So the top pane that you see on the PowerPoint is the existing gateway, the way that the format currently looks. The first thing, the total income tax withheld for the quarter 4 is pre-filled. Next, the user would enter the total income tax withheld in quarters 1, 2, and 3. That is added together by the gateway, and the total income tax withheld is pre-filled. And the filer, the person who's submitting this return, would enter in the total tax remitted for the year. This caused some confusion because, like I said, this form, the fourth quarter reconciliation, is a dual purpose form, and a lot of errors were made by people who weren't filling out this form correctly based on their previous filings. To prevent some of that confusion and the errors that were being made, we've added an additional line to separate the fourth quarter payments from the rest of the year's payments on the new Modernized Gateway. So in the screen, I know it's kind of hard to see, the font is really small, but the first thing that comes over is your total income tax withheld for quarter 4. This is pre-filled based on the previous entries when you fill out the schedule on your previous payments for quarter 4. This will come over from what you filled out on the payroll schedule. The previous payments made for fourth quarter is filled in based on how much was previously paid during fourth quarter. Next, you would fill in your total income tax withheld for first, second, and third, and you would fill in your previous payments for first, second, and third quarters. The extra line item in here, the extra entry required, like I said, is going to hopefully reduce some of the errors that are made and also accentuate the fact that this is truly a dual purpose form that you're reconciling not only quarter 4, but also the entire year. The rest of the form is pre-filled by the gateway. The rest of the calculations are automatically based on what you entered, and it will determine if you have additional tax due or if you're requesting a refund from the department. Next, we'll take a look at our payment-only options. Sometimes you have to go onto Ohio Business Gateway and submit a payment-only without filing a return. So there are different reasons you may do this. If you have previously filed a form and you just need to submit a payment by itself, if you received a billing or assessment notice, or if your payment was rejected, a previously submitted payment, you don't want to file another form. You want to utilize our payment-only options. On the existing gateway, there's several different payment-only options you would select from, but we've condensed those into two main transactions on the modernized gateway. You would select either Ohio withholding payment only, or you would select school district withholding payment only to submit a school district payment. You would search by filing period. Instead of having to use your billing notice ID or your assessment number, you simply search by the filing period you'd like to pay, and then you submit the amount that you need to pay. Across the top of this screen, you might notice that there's a blue border with the Ohio Business Gateway logo in the upper left-hand corner. This is what the modernized gateway is going to look and feel. This is what it's going to look like. This blue header is going to follow you through the entire gateway once you're logged in. So if you have any problems or issues or questions, or you need to contact the Department of Taxation for any reason, we still have the phone number for taxpayer services is still available. So if you call us at 888-405-4039, we have dedicated agents who answer phone calls, questions about a notice you may have received, questions about filing a return, just general employer withholding questions. We have business agents who answer phone calls, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 typically. We also have a new feature in Ohio Business Gateway that's brand new to the department. When the modernized gateway comes out, you'll see that there's a blue question mark in the upper right-hand corner of every screen. When you click on this blue question mark from any page within the gateway, it's going to open a help center. So in the help center, you'll see helpful tips and articles about the text that you're looking at, or you'll also have an option to create a case with the department. What this means is that you're going to be using a form to fill out a help case. You basically fill in your problem, just type it out, and submit the case. When that comes into the department, we will respond via email. It'll keep a digital record of the problem, and we can communicate back and forth that way using the modernized Ohio Business Gateway. So once again, this is a brand new feature. Feel free to try it out. If you don't feel like picking up the phone that day, you can click on the question mark and submit the case electronically. So we'll have a final test your knowledge question.
Allison, I'm a part weekly filer. Doesn't that mean I need to file the IT 941 and the 942 at the end of the year?
So actually, Monica, no. If you are a part weekly filer, you only file the IT 942 fourth quarter / annual reconciliation of income tax withheld. There's no need to file the IT 941 as well. That form is only used by quarterly filers and monthly filers. So now we'll take a moment to pause for the code word. The code word is filers. Finally, we'll take a look at a couple helpful tips for employer withholding tax.
Tip number 1, if you pay via Treasurer of State, there's no need for you to file an IT 501 on the Ohio Business Gateway. The payment that you submitted through the Treasurer of State is the equivalent of the IT 501. In this instance, you would still need to log on to the system to file your annual reconciliations, whether that is the 942 quarterly or the annual reconciliation 941. However, there's no need for you to file an IT 501 and to make a payment through the Treasurer of State.
Another tip, if your payment was rejected, you should utilize the payment-only options available on Modernized Gateway. So like I said before, if you have previously filed a return and the payment was rejected, or you need to submit without without a return filed, you would use employer withholding, employer tax withheld, payment only, or school district payment only.
Another tip that we would like you to be aware of is that there's no need to mail in the confirmations that you receive to the department that you receive from the Modernized Gateway. So after you complete your transaction, you will be given a receipt, and this receipt is for your purposes only. It's for your information only. You can keep that in your records, and you can log into the site and print another copy if necessary, but there's no need to mail it into the department.
Also, if you file an IT 941 annual reconciliation at the end of the year, you do not need to file an IT 942 fourth quarter annual reconciliation. And the opposite is also true. The IT 941 and the IT 942 are both annual reconciliation forms, but monthly and quarterly filers use Form IT 941, and part weekly filers use Form IT 942. Don't file both.
We would also like to make you aware that there are no proposed changes to the bulk filing process as of right now. So if you are a bulk filer, we do not intend to have any of the processes currently in place altered by the launch of the Modernized Gateway. If you have questions or concerns regarding the information that was given to you during this portion of the webinar, feel free to utilize the telephone number on the screen right now, 1-888-405-4039. However, if you would like to stay up to date on the Gateway Modernization Project, there's a link here that you can click to receive email updates as to the latest happenings with the Modernization Project. As of now, we're going to take some questions from attendees. So we'll pause for a moment to see what you have to ask.
So,
Allison's going to read the question, and I'll go ahead and give an answer if we can.
So if the employer withholding is inadvertently filed and paid twice over the gateway, how can I correct this error through the gateway?
If you've inadvertently filed and paid twice over the gateway, there is no need for you to file an amended IT 501. Instead, you can either cancel the erroneous payment up until 11 p.m. Eastern Time, the day that it was filed, through the Modernized Gateway, or you have the option of accounting for this erroneous payment on your annual reconciliation and requesting a refund that way, whichever is most convenient for you. Again, you can either cancel the erroneous payment up until 11 p.m. Eastern Time, the day it was filed, by logging into the Modernized Gateway and going to the Payments tab and then clicking to the option to cancel the payment, or you can request to have the monies refunded to you on your annual reconciliation.
How do you remove a school district from your list?
You can remove school districts from the account profile by choosing the Maintain School District list from your business dashboard. You want to take this step before you're actually filing a return. You don't want to do that in the process of actually filing the return. Instead, if there's maintenance that needs to be done, we ask that you do it prior to starting a form.
What is the time for canceling a payment of double reported tax has passed? So I waited too long. I can't cancel my transaction on Gateway. How do I correct the filing at this point?
The main thing that we want you to know is that you do not need to duplicate any filings. If there was an error that occurred and you're not certain how to resolve it, please give us a call at the number that we shared with you before. One of our agents will be happy to instruct you on the best way to handle the situation. Most likely, we can move the payment to a future period. If not, we will advise you to request it on your annual reconciliation, as I mentioned before.
Thank you. So that concludes our presentation. We'll go ahead and send it back to Nate to move on to the next part.
Okay, thank you, Monica and Allison. And at this point, we're going to go ahead and head out to our second break. This is going to be about a 5-minute break. Remember, all audio and video will be suspended during this time. Please do not log off of the webinar, and we will return back at 10:15. Thank you.